Hey guys, this is John from Integral Camera Solutions. Today I got a review on the two new 4K Blackvue dash cameras. We're going to talk about what's different about each of these models, and we're also going to compare last year's model. We'll talk about what I liked about this year's model and what I might not have liked as much as last year's model. So let's get started. So guys, I did receive both of these units for review by Blackvue, so I'd like to thank them for sending these review units out. If you are interested in purchasing either of these cameras, I'll provide a link down in the description. Now both of these models are 4K in the front with 1080p in the rear. Obviously one's a lot bigger than the other. So this is the DR970X2 channel, and this is the DR970X2 channel LTE. So clearly the LTE suggests it can connect to the cellular network. Underneath the mount there's actually a SIM card slot under there, but that doesn't mean this one can't use the cloud either. This one can use the cloud if you get the optional 4G LTE module, which last I checked was $160. What's nice about that is if you plan on upgrading it, the module has worked for several generations of these cloud-based cameras. So this 970X series is replacing last year's 900X Plus series, and before that was just the standard 900X, and before that was the 900S. So this is basically the fourth generation 4K camera system from Blackvue. Some hardware differences between this generation and last year's is there is now a format button on here instead of a Wi-Fi button. Wi-Fi is just always going to be on, and in the past I could have sworn they said you could connect devices to the camera's Wi-Fi, like your passengers could use the Wi-Fi, but when I tried in the past it didn't work. This year it actually works, and I guess, like I said, the Wi-Fi is just always going to be on, and they replaced the button with the format button, which I really like because I like to be able to format a card if I want to. Here on this side, this is no longer a proximity sensor, which I'm sure Blackvue owners like me have got annoyed by in the past, where my hand was up near the camera and it triggers the proximity sensor. Previous generations, by default, that was to mute it, but I believe you could also set it to lock that current file or set it as a manual file so you could find it easier. I believe now the default is to lock or mark it as a manual recording. Now here on the LTE version, you can see there's actually no format button, and you can see this one has a micro USB because it's going to need that for the 4G LTE module if you want the cloud feature, where this one has it built in. But you can see on this side it too has this new icon, so the default for this is to mark that as a manual recording. Now these cameras are the same as last year, so if you're upgrading from last year, you don't have to take your old ones out. You can use your old ones and just swap these with your front camera. Now if you have the 900X from 2 generations ago, apparently that one has a different camera, so you are going to have to replace these cameras if you're upgrading from the 900S or the original 900X. Like many generations of Blackvue cameras before it, it is going to come with a regular 12-volt socket. If you don't want parking mode, this is the easiest way to connect the camera. But I will say, if you're spending this much money on a Blackvue camera, you really need to use the parking mode to get your money's worth. So it does include a 3-wire hardwiring kit. I'm not going to go in depth into the hardwiring. I would recommend checking the link down below to a hardwiring guide. It'll be very useful if you want to do it yourself, or you can find a place like Best Buy that will hardwire it in for you and install your camera for around $100. One thing that Blackvue has continued to do though is use pretty high quality accessories. I do really like how thin the rear camera cable is. Some 2-channel cameras have really thick micro USB cables, and these really thin cables make it a lot easier to install. So now the video quality is where I think a lot of people are going to have a problem with this camera. Now I wouldn't say it's considerably worse than other cameras out there. The 4K front and 1080p rear is still adequate. My issue was it seems like sometimes it looks worse than last year's 900S Plus model, and I found most of the time it seemed like it did look worse, at least during the day in certain situations. Especially with the rear camera where it seemed like it was noticeably worse. The front doesn't seem to be as big of a difference, and there are times that I noticed text was easier to read on the new 970X, but only with certain colors like black on yellow text. Now I do have to point out that some of my issues could be the fact that my truck is pretty tall and it does have HID headlights, and oftentimes it is blinding the license plates that are just reflecting back, but typically high dynamic range or wide dynamic range should help with that. Now when I first started testing this, I started looking around on the forums and asking other reviewers if they've been experiencing the same issues, and a lot of them seemed to say that they also were disappointed. Vortex Radar did a really in-depth comparison with the 900X Plus and the new 970X, and then also the A139 Pro. He did seem to find cases where the 970X does look better, and from his cases it seems like it handles movement better, so there's less motion blur with the 970 over the previous generation, but it seems to handle wide dynamic range better. But then I can't explain why most of the time my 900X I thought looked better, and I've been seeing this on forums where it seems like people are having very different experiences, so I can't really explain why some users are experiencing noticeably better video quality and some users like me are getting a lot more of a mixed comparison. Now I wouldn't say it's a big step back or anything, because clearly there are times where the 970X does look better, but the problem is the competition like the A139 Pro with 4K in the front, 1080p in the rear, that clearly has better video quality. So that's going to be an issue for Blackvue, and I think not having the Starvis 2 image sensor this year has really hurt them. Now I'm going to start talking about the cloud, because I think the cloud features with Blackvue cameras is one of the standout features. Now recently I reviewed the Ring car cam and I gave it a very bad review. I thought the video quality was terrible, not even good enough for a 6-year-old or 7-year-old camera, but it did have some interesting cloud features and it was very easy to set up. The problem was the video quality was just terrible. The user interface wasn't very good, and a lot of people I've seen in videos and in the comments claim that it's not meant to be a dash camera, it's meant to be a security camera. I personally think that is an absurd excuse, because nowhere does Ring suggest that it's a secondary security camera to your main dash camera. I think your main dash camera should be able to record good quality video, and if you want good cloud features, that should be an option built into your main camera that has good video quality. Currently, I believe Blackvue is the only company that really does it. Now, I haven't tested the new U3000 from Thinkware, so let me know if Thinkware has improved their cloud features, because it's been a few years since I used the U1000, which the cloud feature was decent, but it wasn't as developed as Blackvue. Another great thing about Blackvue Cloud is it's very easy to use and set up. You can use either your own SIM card, which I personally use a T-Mobile 2GB plan SIM card. It's about $10 a month, and I get 2 gigabytes of bandwidth a month. I've never ran out, so it's been plenty for me. But Blackvue also offers their own SIM cards. You can check their rates, and they seem to be okay. Seems a little more expensive than what I have with T-Mobile, but depending on where you are, maybe it's a better option for you. So I'll provide a link down in the description for that information also. In addition to being able to view a live feed on your phone from anywhere in the world, these cameras can actually send you alerts when it senses an impact or even motion while your car is parked and turned off. If it senses that impact, it'll automatically record that to the cloud, so you won't lose that file. And since it's alerting you, then you can view a live feed and see what's going on right outside of your car. So guys, overall, I still really like the Blackvue series of cameras, either the 900 or 700 series. The 700 series is just 1080p in the front, but it is 1080p 60. I think next year they're really going to have to step it up though. my wish would be these 4K cameras have to have the Starvis 2 image sensor. It'd be nice if they could up the rear cameras to 1440p and also have a better image sensor in these. But also I really think the 700 series needs to be bumped up to 1440p for the front camera. Otherwise I feel like Blackvue is really just going to start falling behind, because I've said this before that as much as I personally love the Blackvue cameras and the cloud features, but I know a lot of people don't want to pay extra for that feature monthly. Many people don't even care about parking mode. They care about the best video quality possible while they're driving. And unfortunately we can't say that about these cameras from Blackvue. The video quality is just dropped behind some of their competition too much. So I'm really hoping next year they bump it up a lot, and I think that'll get a lot of people more excited about Blackvue again, because it seemed like there's quite a lot of disappointment in the dashcam community this year with this year's models of Blackvue cameras. You can't hit it out of the park every year, and this year is definitely a bit of a miss. But if you're interested in a 2-channel camera with 4K in the front and really advanced cloud features, as I said, industry leading in my opinion for the cloud functionality. So guys, I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, I'd appreciate it if you hit like and subscribe. As I said earlier, if you are interested in purchasing these cameras, I'll provide links down in the description and some of my other recommendations. As usual, drive safe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.